this week's news. Counting the cost after Cyclone Pam batters Vanuatu. Concern for faith-based schools in Australia. And new research shows the right diet cut cancer risk.
This is InFocus Christian News and Current Affairs.
Residents of Vanuatu are still struggling to assess the damage after last weekend's tropical cyclone smashed into the South Pacific country, leaving several people dead, thousands homeless and infrastructure destroyed. Cyclone Pam is believed to be one of the biggest tropical storms ever to hit Vanuatu. According to the ABC, the government has declared a state of emergency and is coordinating with non-government agencies, including Christian aid agencies, in responding to the crisis.
So we're responsible for 9 evacuation centres in Port Vila, where we're going around and essentially monitoring and ensuring that everyone has potable water, the toilet facilities are okay. I mean, we're sitting in a situation where one of the centres has 390 people for one toilet. And the numbers in these evacuation centres are just growing at this point in time.
The United Kingdom has drawn worldwide attention by passing plain tobacco packaging laws through the House of Commons with a strong majority. It's becoming increasingly clear that Australia's plain packaging laws have been part of a successful anti-tobacco policy that has seen smoking rates decline by more than 12% since December 2012. According to The Guardian, other countries are considering similar legislation, as well as the European Union. The Seventh-day Adventist Church, which has advocated a smoke-free lifestyle since the late 1800s, has welcomed the success of plain packaging laws. Veteran New South Wales parliamentarian Fred Nile has questioned the balance of the federal government's terror security funding for schools that fear racial or religious attacks. Jewish and Islamic schools form the bulk of successful applicants, with 11 independent and 11 government schools also sharing in the $18 million security funding package. The Reverend Fred Nile said it's Christians who are being predominantly targeted for attacks around the world. He also pointed to a number of recent incidents where Sydney churches were vandalised. Some of the attacks appeared to be motivated by religious or ethnic hatred. 400 Christians escaping from persecution in Pakistan have again run into trouble, this time in Thailand. According to CBN News, the 400 men, women and children are applying for official refugee status while in Thailand and have been receiving assistance from local churches. But the group has been arrested by local police, who say the Pakistani Christians are illegal immigrants and should be deported. Christian women took the lead in this year's World Day of Prayer, which, it's claimed, brought together more than 2 million people from around the world, from across the denominational spectrum. In Australia, groups gathered in churches and halls to share in this year's special prayer focus on the Caribbean nation of the Bahamas, and the lesson of humility from the story of Jesus washing his disciples' feet. Offerings taken up at the World Day of Prayer events in Australia went to support selected various women's and children's programs. Conflicting reports are causing confusion for those concerned about the situation of more than 300 Christians taken prisoner by ISIS militants in northeast Syria. According to Asia News, claims that all prisoners had been released were contradicted by fresh reports that ISIS had decided to keep their captives as human shields when they came under heavy attack. Before that time, however, 23 of the Christians were released. They say they were well treated. Syrian church leaders pleased to release the women and children have so far fallen on deaf ears. New research from Loma Linda University in the USA shows that a vegetarian diet can reduce the risk of colorectal cancers by 22%. The 7-year study of more than 70,000 Californians compared large groups of people with different diets, from strict vegans to meat-loving omnivores. All participants were Seventh-day Adventists, a group that traditionally does not use tobacco or alcohol products. But even with those known cancer-causing substances taken out of the equation, the vegetarians showed a marked reduction in cancers of the colon and rectum, led by vegetarians who included fish in their diets. The researchers say the cancer-causing culprits appear to be red and processed meats. Keeping the young engaged with the Bible and church history is a constant challenge, but Adventist historians have hit on a strategy that just might work. A free game, now released on both iTunes and Google Play, poses a series of multi-choice questions focusing on the gift of prophecy in the Bible, and in the ministry of Adventist Church co-founder Ellen White. The aim of the game is to repeat the success of the special mission offering in 1886 that raised enough money to buy a boat that carried the gospel to Pitcairn, a remote South Pacific island. And speaking of fundraising efforts, Bible Society Australia has also hit on a game-orientated way to bring the Bible to people around the world. A three-way cricket tournament between the Catholic, Anglican and C3 churches. In a typically Pentecostal expression of faith, the C3 team claimed the victory in advance. The Anglicans, in an outburst of Calvinism, said they had been predestined to win the competition. But it was the Catholics who, after a tough series of matches at the Sydney University Oval, held the Golden Chalice aloft at the end of the day. The money raised will go to a Bible-based literacy program for women in Pakistan. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week on InFocus Christian News.